all. I hope you all are good and taking care of your health. So, in this journey of learning together the subject ubiquitous computing, we have reached to the last segment of ubiquitous communication. Here in this session, we are going to talk about network design issues which may arise while the application is designed. So, this is the content. The first one among that is network access control. So, we know that different networks are facing the problem of capacity and resource allocation problems. So, the range of access control techniques can be used to handle network resource allocation problem, and it should also allow multiple users to access network media with limited capacity. So, there are some ways which have been designed. Among that, first one is GSM, which is designed to use time division multiple access to share access among multiple users by splitting the transmission time into a slot per channel. The next one is code division multiple access or CDMA, in which voice signals are spread across a band of frequencies or channels using a spread spectrum. The next is wideband code division multiple access, that is WCDMA, that can support higher bandwidth. With this, high speed data transmission can become possible. The next is carrier sense multiple access with collision detection, that is CSMA-CD network control protocol, in which a carrier sensing scheme is used. So, what happens here is, if the sender is detecting that somebody else is also transmitting the data, it stops transmitting its own data and then it is going to send the jam signal. Then it waits for a random amount of time before it tries to send the data again. The example of CDMA CD where it is used is Ethernet LAN. The next in the series is the solution which has been designed for wireless LANs. So, wireless LANs are going to use MACA type transmission protocol, which is multiple access with collision avoidance type of transmission protocol. Now, what happens is WLANs are typically based on sharing frequencies between several active users. Now, because many simultaneously users are there, it may cause the collision of packets. So, it may waste the bandwidth. So, because it can be difficult to detect some nodes, that is hidden nodes, it is important that packet collision should be avoided. So, that is why this MACA solution is used with WLANs. So, what happens here is, before actually sending the packet, the network node which is going to send it is going to have the announcement by sending a request to send signal which carries the length of the data frame which it is going to send. Now, what happens is, once that has been received by the receiver, it is going to send the clear to send signal, which is having the length of frame that the receiver is about to receive. Now, any nodes hearing this RTS signal are going to refrain themselves from sending until they hear a CTS signal. So, once the CTS signal is there, that node is supposed to send the actual data. Active nodes which are present over there are going to wait or back off the transmission during that duration of estimated time which is mentioned in the CTS signal. And also they are going to wait for some extra random amount of time before they actually transmit it. So, this was the solution for wireless LANs. The next solution is token based systems. So, here control access is allocated to local networks using the special control message which is called as token, which continuously circulate throughout the system. So, for example, structured as a token ring topology. So, what happens is, each node is going to get the token for some amount of time. The node which is ready to transmit the data is going to use the token, otherwise it is going to forward the token. So, these were some of the solutions for handling this issue of network access control. The next is ubiquitous versus localized access. Now, we can have networks which can support only local access for the specific organizations, or we can have the networks which are going to support the ubiquitous access. So if the network is designed for only local services or local needs, then it may be because the services are going to serve the local area only. Now this happens because they are only available on wired networks that are situated in buildings, or because they are offered on wireless local area networks, or because they are needed to be kept internal for that organization only. Now local services can also be designed to have access control to enable them to be accessed remotely and securely by a closed group of users operating as virtual private networks or VPNs. So for networks to support ubiquitous access, it seems logical to use wide area networks, because it is going to have the large number of distinct networks which are inter-network, and this fact will be hidden from the user. So users are experiencing one virtual network in case of WAN. There are three major types of WAN which we must know: the wired and wireless based internet, wireless satellite networks, and the third is wired and wireless telephone networks. Now these are going to use different protocols and they are going to manage the inter-networking differently. So these were the possible ways of having localized access or ubiquitous access. So it is up to the designer of the application to decide whether they are going to keep the access ubiquitous or localized one. The next in the list is controlling network access. Now here if we talk about network access, then we are talking about contents which are transmitted to or from the network node. So because there are resources to share, many ICT resources connected to the internet are protected to control access to specific resources by specific users or to a closed user group. Now we know that if we are going to restrict the access, then it is useful for all, but if we are not going to restrict it, what happens is freeloaders may get the access to those resources and authorized users may not receive the access to those resources. The second one would be how we are going to protect access to local networks. So there are several methods for this. We can have designated media access control or IP network addresses, or we can have the solution based upon certificate based authentication. Then there are some solutions like firewalls, NATs and VPNs which we are going to discuss. So a router or special purpose computer that monitors all packets which are entering or leaving from or to the organization are controlled by firewalls. So firewalls are designed according to which level of network they work. So there are two levels where the firewalls are going to work. The first one is packet level and the second one is application level. So if we talk about packet level firewalls, then they are going to examine and filter data packets according to the IP or transport layer addresses which is fed into the table. Now this type of firewalls are susceptible to address spoofing, where the authenticated IP address is replaced by the other IP address for whom actually the access is not designed. Then there is application firewalls which require users to log in to the firewall computer before they can access any other network elements. The next solution is NAT, which is network address translation. It is a computer that acts as a proxy to translate IP addresses inside a network, keeping them private to other IP addresses that are visible outside the network. The next is VPNs, which we have already talked about. So virtual private networks essentially allow users to establish a lower layer virtual channel or virtual circuit for exchanging data packets, but it is kept hidden from the higher level applications. So VPNs are going to create the method called as tunneling. So multiple heterogeneous applications are using the same tunnel. Now these lower layer packets are said to be tunneled through the public networks. Now packets are usually encrypted when they are tunneled, so that they can be prevented from being intercepted and examined from unauthorized users. So these were the solutions which can restrict the access used by unauthorized users. The next issue is group communication, which is transmission for multiple receivers. So there is scenario where the information has to be sent from single source to definite group of people, multiple receivers. So we already know the solution is multicast communication. This can be useful in order to provide some fault tolerance for the content, or in order to share the information within the group, for example a conference, or when a sender cannot limit themselves to interaction with particular receiver. Now for this to happen, a hardware support is required to have this multicast option. There are three scenarios here: reliable multicast, unreliable multicast and atomic multicast. In unreliable multicast, messages are transmitted to all members without any acknowledgement received from them. In reliable multicast, the message transmission makes the best effort to deliver to all the receivers in the group, and in atomic multicast, a message is either received by all receivers or none of them. So this is the property which we have studied in DBMS, where the transaction was either to all or none. So these are the scenarios where multicast solution is designed, and as per the requirement, out of these three multicast options, the designer can choose it. Now the next issue is internetworking heterogeneous networks. So ideally, when we talk about universal access, it means that it should be for any type of data, or it may be accessed simultaneously, and it must be accessed from anywhere and over any kind of network. So this is the ideal scenario. So historically, many separate types of communication network exist that are not interlinked. Now when we talk about heterogeneous, they are in terms of physical media through which it is propagated. For example, it may be propagated through wired copper or optical fiber network, or through wireless or over the air networks. So these are different ways of sending the information, and those become the heterogeneous networks. Now because of this, these all networks are going to have different requirements for signal amplification and repeaters. Each type of physical media network, for example Ethernet, point-to-point transmission, define its own protocols to partition, structure data into packets for transmission. Now currently, separate networks are still predominantly used to distribute the audio, video and data contents. Networks are heterogeneous in terms of the types of applications that use them, in terms of their architecture or topology, or in terms of how the individual network are interlinked and managed. So these are different ways with which two networks are separate. So how we are going to internetwork these heterogeneous networks is the design issue to be discussed. So as you can see in the diagram, different types of heterogeneous networks are used by the same receiver node, as you can see. So UMTS OTA here stands for Universal Mobile Transmission Service, and OTA is over the air transmission. So voice over IP, we already know that. So as you can see, a single terminal is accessing the data through various channels. So this is how heterogeneous internetworking example architecture is presented here. The next issue which we have to consider is global use. Now when we talk about networks, we want it to be accessed everywhere, but for the network to be of global usage, it has to provide some solutions for rural areas also. and with low cost solution to it. So there are some systems which are there. So for example, CoreDect system, this has been proposed to support local access. This system was based on the DEC standard, which was initially designed for used with cordless telephones. Now this system uses MAC protocol, which is called as MCTDMA, which performs both and time as well as frequency division in order to accommodate multiple channels. So this was one solution. The second is Printcast. So here information services are going to support broadcast TV as a service access network. So Printcast system augments television programs, specifically the TV signal, with print related information to give end users additional material that they can retain on paper. So Printcast solution combines print data from a PC with the program which AV signal is using a standard device called as an inserter that encodes the signal, and then it transmits it with traditional broadcast equipment. Now here what happens is, viewers who are receiving this signal are using Printcast decoder to decode the data from an analog television signal and then relay data to the printer. So Printcast application include voter information guides for elections, coupons associated with advertisements, homework exercises for distance learning. So now in this era it can be useful, and printing recipes for cooking shows. So along with the data which is transmitted, its printed information is also sent. The third solution is to provide wireless access network, which includes very small aperture terminal, which is called as VSAT. So this is a product range based on principle for designing small ground terminals enabling cheaper satellite access and spread spectrum, a communication technique for the transmission of signal over some band of radio spectrum designed primarily to enhance performance in the presence of interference. The next option is using mesh networks. So we already have talked about mesh networks. So we know that there are two ways, full mesh networks and partial mesh networks. But to have full mesh networks, again it would be a costly solution, and we want the solution to be low cost. So in that case, partial mesh networks can be used. The next issue which we have to talk about is separating management and control from usage. So there are different options for designing application use versus control and management of networks. So architectural model can be separated considering the following concerns like media access, control of the communication, and management of the communication. So as you can see in the diagram, applications, internetworking, and media access, these three layers are there. So if we talk about say for example application driven scenario, where the application defines the user data flow, the control and management are application driven and application specific, then these all three takes place over a single communication channel only. Then next in the line is different ways of signaling, that is in-band signaling and out-band signaling. So with in-band signaling, part of the data or bearer channel capacity must be reserved for controlling the signaling part. Alternatively, an additional channel has to be used, that is called as out of band signaling. So what happens here, by using this separate out of band channel for signaling with a single channel, the in-band or control messages may be held up by very content messages they seek to control. Now in addition to this, it may be easier for users to accidentally or intentionally fake control signals to disrupt services. Now for this problem, the solution could be PSTN networks use out of band signaling system, which is commonly referred to as SS7, to control telephone content messages. And with TCP/IP, file transfer protocol is also used, which is example of a protocol that uses separate channels for content exchanges, exchange of contents and for control. In some systems, the major application which are going to use their own dedicated network. So example can be video broadcast network, audio broadcast network, voice network, data network. So management is application specific. So as multimedia content applications are becoming integrated into single networks, management needs to be factored out of the applications and networks so that they can be applied across networks and applications. So here we are thinking of having management part separated from the applications and networks. So this is how separating management and control is done. That is the issue which we have talked about. So in this session we have talked about different network design issues. Hope you all get it well. Thank you. See you in the next part.